Welcome to the PEP Talk podcast, a podcast by Tayler and Alex, a podcast where we look at our time on this course at Falmouth University studying Press and Editorial Photography, and we start on our first episode looking at our first year on this course.
So, how did you find coming to uni?
Coming to uni was an essential step in my eyes. I felt like I wanted to experience something new. I wanted to experience the independence, and I love what the course and the place had to offer. The opportunity to work on stuff that I'd been passionate about and channel it towards the real world, effectively. About yourself?
It's just like is that next stepping stone in education and moving on with life. I didn't think I was going to get in, thought the interview went a bit shit, but obviously didn't go as bad as I thought. And I was excited to see what Falmouth could offer me for both education and lifestyle.
Straight away we were faced with a couple of different projects. One of those early projects on was a module titled Person at Work.
Yeah.
And this was for us to very much go out and find our own story and document somebody in the workspace.
Yep.
Producing images and basically producing a photo story of what we saw or what we found.
It's creating that narrative, that first real narrative of how to make a story. Like, I'm pretty sure everyone I know I do still uses that person at work as like the foundations. It's like when you go and see a new project, it's always finding out what they do for work and then working together with them to get the best imagery. And I did mine with off-the-wall glass. The owner, Ali, she basically does glass splashbacks, and so I went to her and said, can I do a project with you? And she was really excited for it. Came with some commissions for me later, so it worked really well. I also did fishmongers as well, just to get completely different stories, like get out comfort zone. And there's an image I called it like 3 fishmongers, but that one's like the best image from that year for me.
I saw those images and they looked epic.
Yeah, still from now, it's still one of my strongest images. Just because, I don't know, it's the light in the morning, like everyone's actively doing something in the image, and it's because it's in black and white, it's not that stands still.
Plus it's one of those
moment.
It's got sentimental value in the sense it's one of your early shoots and your early...
Yeah, so I think I definitely hold it slightly higher for that. What about you? What did you do for Person at Work?
Looking back, I probably should have gone a little bit further afield for my Person at Work, but very early on at university I started a job in a cafe. So being immersed in that cafe, I did my Person at Work in that coffee shop. Espressini in town, became really good friends with everybody that worked there, was part of the team, and saw it as an opportunity to basically document what was going on. I don't look back going it's some of my strongest work, but I see it as a stepping stone. It was almost easily forgettable until I look back.
Yeah.
But that's like a lot of earlier projects. They're not in the foreground of your mind straight away, but they're essential to put you where you are now.
There's definitely some I look back at and be like, with all the knowledge I have now from the course and like photographing more, how I would change these images or do them differently or completely do different projects with the same person. And that's why this is such an eye-opener, because you get to look at yourself and your own work but not be so harsh, just be reflecting on that is good or that was bad, and like pat yourself on the back and stuff. But after that we had PEP 110, which entered another element of the whole thing.
pretty much running linear, wasn't it? It was
Yeah, it was the first time like you actively had to use the stores and not be afraid to book out kit or lights. And I did my interior of the for that project with Ali at a splashback she just installed, and then also the poly cinema. And like both times I used different lights. So for Ali's one I used studio stand lights, and then for the poly I just used flash guns and a commander. And they both, like, obviously at the time they both did the job. Looking now they don't do a job. But yeah, it was really fun to play around and just get creative and not have that fear of being like, oh, it's all going wrong. Like, obviously at the time I was probably absolutely bricking it, thinking, oh crap, like, this is too harsh over here and this one's not harsh enough, or I didn't bring enough flash lights for the poly.
Well, one sticks in my mind, and it was with one of the interior shots, and I wanted to capture the exterior, which is nature and the outside world, but from an interior. So I was trying to think about this, and we took my housemate's car, it's 4x4, out to Pendennis Point, and we opened up the back, and I thought this is effectively an interior. So I tried to think a little bit outside the box, or outside the vehicle, if you put it that way. And got an image that I was happy with, and my housemates loved it. They're not on the course. It was a bit of an adventure. And I just wanted to kind of remind me from the word go to just be a little bit experimental wherever I can. I was very conscious early on that I didn't want to copy anybody, or I didn't want to feel like I was creating the same work as anybody else. And maybe I put that pressure on myself unnecessarily, that I just had to be a bit different, or my work had to be a little bit contradicting, which sometimes would put my work on the edge of, does it actually meet the brief, or does it actually meet what we asked for? That's something else that I've learned from, and then looking back on that, I know my limits and where to push a brief, or where to push the subject of what to do.
In second term we had the 24-hour shoot, so obviously we had Plymouth and London for London week. And
at this point I was in full uni mode. I was loving it.
It's good. It's different. Like, had that first initial like, oh yeah, this is what the next
step
couple years are going to be like, and it's just really fun. However, Plymouth for me was a difficult one, trying to do the 24-hour shoot. I got in touch with Plymouth Argyle Football Club and was emailing the guy back and forth, and then when I got there he expected us at a different time, and he said his email was broken or something, so ended up waiting around for quite a while that day, just walking back and forth from the centre thinking, is this actually going to work out? But luckily it did, and at the end of the shoot I managed to get a picture with one of the assistant managers and a couple of players after their training, and it made me look at the London one a lot more in detail of what I need to do and who I need to see and shoot, and that paid off for London because I centred around the Barbican Centre and the people who use it, because I knew there was always going to be people there, and then asked them the simple question of like why they use it and why they like the space, why do they come here, if they study or if they're working, what is it about it that makes it so unique in London. And so that was from the fundamentals of person at work. It was not being scared to go and ask a random stranger, can I take your photo?
I remember being with you in London when you were taking some of those portraits. And I saw that as an inspiration, because I still found it difficult to approach people, and you could see you building and just approaching people and saying, can I take your photo? Just being okay with a no. And that's a big thing.
No, for sure.
Because when that came around and Plymouth came around first, I was struggling to find what I wanted to do in Plymouth, and then I found an indoor skate park. and this was quite a learning curve as to regards to organisation. So I'd found this skate park as it arrived. It was a great venue. They were super happy to have me there. And then I went inside and there was nobody skating.
Yeah.
So I was a little bit miffed by that. But there was a few young guys on scooters, which again wasn't what I was aiming for. But shot with them, shot some nice images, and I sent them the photos afterwards, and they could put them on their social media, and it made their day.
Yeah.
But that taught me just to be a little bit more organised, and I probably didn't take that lesson into London Week straight away.
Okay.
Because my 24-hour task in London was to document the coffee scene, the independent coffee scene in Covent Garden in London.
Yeah.
So there's a large number of coffee shops on basically this one area, and with regards to all of London. But I challenged myself to go to 6 different coffee shops.
Okay.
And document the coffee shops and try and show a difference, but also a similarity.
Yeah.
Because even now it's a booming industry. I remember the first coffee shop I went into. They said I asked to take photos and a little bit of video, and they said no, and I was like, right, okay. So
how did you? Yeah, like how
like
did that
getting
feel?
Used to that no. It was getting used to that no, and
do you feel now you're okay with the no?
Yeah.
And just take it as a.
And straight away I went to the next one. They were super happy for me to shoot in there, and the next one they were a little bit offish with me shooting in there. But then the one after that, they were super happy to have me take photos in there. So it is like just an ask and you'll get an answer.
Yeah.
It's really not going to get any worse than that.
Yeah.
But both of those shoots were like, again, like I said previously, they don't stick in my memory.
Yeah.
But they're important building blocks.
Yeah, I think in the first year, well, by the sounds of it, me and you, time management is like become not an issue, but a thing to correct. And I think now that is definitely being corrected. Obviously, it's never going to be 100% because no one's ever perfect. But from the way I've seen you work and I've seen myself work, like it's got a lot better. It's always going to be a thing to work on and really be completely anal about. But from having these like projects, it's definitely been like you can't sit on your laurels and just expect these things to come and greet you at your front door, which brings us on to magazine spreads. Yeah,
which is looking back, is a very relative module considering what we're both doing now.
Yeah.
It was the first time I'd ever used InDesign, and my favourite spread that sticks in my mind is from an impromptu trip I took in the first term of first year to France. Very much packaged that story and made it a spread and made something out of it, and we also had to pitch it to a magazine of our choice.
Yeah.
And I pitched that story to Wavelength magazine, a European surfing magazine, and they got back to me quite quickly, and they were like, we really like this, we really like your images, we really like your story, but it's out of date. And this trip happened in October, and this module we were doing right now was in March.
Yeah.
And they were like, it's out of date. But it gave me a bit of confidence in the sense that somebody liked it. They liked what I was doing. They gave me a bit of faith in myself. And like I went on for example, I went on to continue to send them content.
Yeah.
And then a year later I got a little photo in one of their magazines. It's just a relationship builder.
Yeah.
But I thought that project was great because it opened up my eyes to more than just photography.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the thing of looking at it. It's like, this looks sick. Like, it started to make my head change direction. Like the actual building, I'd used InDesign a little bit, but not a lot. And so like the actual like layout was a bit scary because it was everything new. It was just like images. Know how to do that. Text boxes and stuff was a bit like, oh crap. But all of my layouts there's definitely improvements to be done in all of them, but I look at it and take away from the stories that were told to me and that I can do it. It just needed a bit of working on, like fine-tuning, and that's where the collaboration, which is happening now between graphics and illustrators, starting to pay off from that first year. Because if you asked me in first year, I wouldn't have said, yeah, I'm going to do magazines at the end of third year for my final project. Like, I'd have just laughed.
Yeah. So you can feel like you've taken more out of the course than just photography.
Yeah.
Which is, again, that started the path to where we both are now.
Yeah. So hopefully you enjoyed that first episode and you'll listen to episode 2. And yeah, thanks for listening, guys.